This week, we've got an eclectic mix of deals for you to devour, featuring everything from 2021 releases to retro thrills, plus a few titles that feel like a mixture of the two. Today's video is brought to you by INSURGENCY SANDSTORM, the intense tactical cooperative shooter that's all about strategy, realistic ballistics, and a stunning attention to detail that will blow you away. More about that later, but for now, let's talk deals.
Imagine if the minions from Despicable Me decided to launch their own space program, and you've got a pretty good idea of what the Kerbal are all about. Your humble, bug-eyed friends don't necessarily have the aerodynamic knowledge or engineering prowess to make their space-traveling dreams a reality. In fact, the only two attributes which the game does recognize them as having are courage and stupidity. The upside of which is that they will happily clamber into any spacecraft you build for them, no matter how ludicrous its design might be, giving you plenty of room for trial and error. And you'll need it too, since beneath its funny-looking exterior, Kerbal Space Program is a surprisingly realistic physics-based flight simulator, where you'll have to work with absolute precision if you ever want to make it to the moon. Kerbal Space Program is now 55% off, and if you're an Xbox Series X or S gamer, you'll be greeted with a lovely lunar landscape when you finally make it all the way, thanks to a recent next-gen update which ups the frame rate, adds improved shaders and textures, so that even the dark side of the moon starts looking pretty swell.
No game will give you that uncanny, old but new feeling quite like Nexomon Extinction, which is now 25% off. If your childhood was dominated by a certain set of pocket monsters and their chunky yellow electrical hazard of a mascot, everything about Nexomon will feel intimately familiar. The game features over 300 colourful critters for you to capture, ranging from adorable animal friends to towering monsters. You'll find new ones scuttling around in tall grass, train them up in battle, and watch them transform into more powerful forms. From the art style and the top-down perspective to 100 other little details, Nexomon never tries to hide how much it's taking its cues from that other series, but given how inexhaustible our appetite for monster catching has proven to be over the years, I'd say there's plenty of room in town for this plucky new contender.
Coming straight out of the Xbox 360 era, Outland is a bit of a cult classic, and it is well worth checking out if you haven't already, especially now that it's 70% off. You play as a man who is just trying to live a normal life when he discovers that he is actually the reincarnation of an ancient hero who settled a dispute between the two godly sisters thousands of years ago, which is sort of a lot to take in for a regular Joe. But the upside is that this news sets you off on an epic 2D adventure while you'll slowly learn to harness the sisters' power to control darkness and light, represented by blue and red energy. This central mechanic makes for a clever combat platformer where you have to shift quickly and cunningly between the two to make it out alive. And it also adds another dash of colour into a truly beautiful game, proving that while the era of the Xbox 360 might now feel like a distant memory, good art design is pretty much timeless.
Moving on to a more modern title, Scarlet Nexus is a 2021 action RPG from the folks behind the critically acclaimed Tales games. It also features a stunning anime-inspired art style which Xbox Series X and S players can enjoy in 4K and 60 FPS. The game itself jumps forward in time even further to a futuristic alternate reality where many of the population have mind powers and where bizarre monsters have begun attacking out of nowhere, so it's kind of a mixed bag. You play as two especially gifted individuals who've been tasked with taking on the monstrous horde and keeping the city safe. And while the two leads are pretty handy in their own right, combining their bladed melee weapons with the ability to chuck things around telekinetically, well, things really heat up when you recruit a few new teammates and chuck their abilities into the mix. So if you're in the mood for the sprawling narrative of a JRPG and the fast-paced combat of a third-person actioner, Scarlet Nexus should be your first stop, especially now that it's 30% off. Or you can grab it as part of Xbox Game Pass as it was added last week in an announcement during the Tokyo Game Show. Nice.
Not to get too controversial here, but I've got to say it's a pretty good time to be a Marvel fan. As well as the sweet movies and TV series, we're also getting awesome games like Marvel's Avengers. Oh, and I hear they make, comic books as well? Not sure, could be fake. Marvel's Avengers is a super-powered third-person action extravaganza where you play as whatever member of the team best suits your style. That means that Cap's shield, Thor's hammer, and Tony Stark's iconic armor are all yours to wield against the forces of evil. More recently, we've had the chance to get our claws out as Black Panther, and if you're looking to prepare for the upcoming Hawkeye series, why not shoot a few arrows with Kate Bishop? It's a game that just keeps getting bigger and better, so be sure to subscribe and ring a bell to hear all about the latest arrivals at Avengers HQ. This one has also just recently arrived on Xbox Game Pass, just in time to celebrate its 1-year anniversary, and you can also now buy it outright for half price.
The Prison Break has been a staple of film and TV since Steve McQueen's famous escape, and now you can get a hands-on version of the experience thanks to A Way Out, which is now 80% off. Alternatively, you could just commit a crime and then try to break out of jail for real, but maybe don't do that. A Way Out stars a pair of unlikely friends named Leo and Vincent, who are brought together by a shared predicament, namely that they're both locked in prison and would really prefer not to be. Who can blame them? To remedy that situation, they'll have to work together, and so will you, since A Way Out is a multiplayer-only game. From shooting hoops and playing Connect 4 to choking out guards and climbing up air vents, every step of Leo and Vincent's journey requires you to act in tandem, which makes for a tense and occasionally hilarious co-op experience, as well as a Hollywood-worthy tale of two strangers learning to trust each other. Aww.
Mega Man 11 represents another blast from the past, although now our legendary robo-suited hero is rocking a slightly softer, more Saturday morning cartoonish aesthetic. But if you think that means you're in for an easy ride, you've got another thing coming, and that thing is probably a big ball of plasma aimed right at your face. Because in spite of its cute modern makeover, Mega Man 11 is every bit as ruthless as previous games in the series. Rusty reflexes will quickly see Mega Man hurled onto the scrap heap as enemies swarm the screen and gigantic bosses lay in wait at the end of each level. Plus, you'll need to learn which weapon to deploy against each big bad. Otherwise, the smoke will clear and you'll find your target standing there quite unharmed and somewhat miffed. By adding a few cool new powers and a charming art style onto a time-honored template, Mega Man 11 easily lives up to the series' legacy, and it's now half price.
From Mega Man to Batman, Arkham Knight kicks off Warner Bros.' massive sale this week with a 60% discount. The third entry in the acclaimed Arkham series, this one sees the whole of Gotham City, leaving only the Dark Knight and a collection of his most fearsome adversaries behind. Oh, and they've all decided to band together to take old Bats out, so he's probably in for quite a long one. Just like the previous games, Arkham Knight blends scene-scanning detective work, shadowy stealth gameplay, and good old-fashioned bad guy battering to give you a taste of the full Batman experience. Plus, you get to roll around in the Batmobile, so really, there's no downside here. The game even takes place at Halloween, so the timing is perfect too.
Next up on the Warner Bros. Slate, we've got Mortal Kombat 11 at 65% off. The iconic arcade fighter has been back in the spotlight this year thanks to the new movie, but there really is nothing like delivering your own fatality to give you that perfect Mortal Kombat buzz. The 11th game makes for a great entry point too, taking the game's dark fantasy-tinged martial arts world and bringing it to life in spectacular fashion. These are certainly some of the prettiest decapitations I've ever seen personally. The new roster is absolutely stacked too, featuring everyone from old favourites like Scorpion and Sub-Zero to new additions like the human-shaped time-turner Garrus and the ferocious Collector, whose 6 arms meaning that he can hit you with 6 very pointy things at the same time. If you're in the mood for a bit of old-school arcade-style ultra-violence, Mortal Kombat 11 is the way to go.
Finally, you can go and hunt some orcs in Middle-earth Shadow of War. Just like in Shadow of Mordor, here you'll be playing as the elf spirit-infested ranger named Talion as he wages war against the Dark Lord Sauron. The result is a blend of strategic battle planning and meaty third-person combat as you plot out each new attack on Sauron's forces and then lead the charge into battle. As you hack and slash your way up the enemy's chain of command, you'll find yourself making a few friends and quite a large number of nemesis. Whatever. Basically, you will end up with a few particular orc leaders who hate your guts even more than the rest and will work even harder to remove them from your body, which really just makes them even more fun to defeat. Middle-earth Shadow of War now has a whole 67% sliced off its price, and Xbox Game Pass members can download the game without spending a single gold coin or solving any riddles or going on any epic quests or anything really.
And if all this talk of war has got your interest, then be sure to check out INSURGENCY SANDSTORM, who've partnered with us for this video. Available now, you can play with up to 20 players in PvP matches and 8 players in co-op versus AI modes. Find your role with loadout management and fully customizable soldiers and weapons for some heart-pounding immersion. Wanna know more? Then check this out.
Ready for it, ready, steady for it. Ready here, so you can't ignore it. Pedal to metal, so gotta floor it. And I'm in too deep in a board that I've been looking for change in the battle of gray. Time stay low and just fly away. Look at what's happening, I miss what happened. Just here to bring the fun back.
Let us know which bargains you plan on picking up in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for all the latest Xbox news. Thanks for watching, bye!